Okay, should be working. Here we are. Hello, everyone. We are live with the final tribal council of season 8 of Premiere. This was our Breaking Bad themed season. After a long and strenuous season for all of the players, we are left with the final 3 here, Colin, Ayana, and Seb, to face the jury. The way that this will work is they will each be given approximately 6 minutes to give an opening statement. Jurors will come on, have about 5 minutes to address them, closing statements, and then we will have our votes in tonight, and we will crown our 8th winner of this game this evening. I hope everyone is as excited as we are, but we are going to kick it off. So let's get started with our first opening speech from our lovely Ayana.
All right. Hello and good evening. I am very excited to be here. As most of you know, this is only my second time playing, so to make it to Final 3 is definitely a huge honor. However, I did come here to win. And so, you're going to hear a lot tonight from everybody, I'm sure. And I also feel like it's possible that some of you have your minds made up, but I would encourage you to reconsider if it's not me. And hopefully I can make a persuasive enough argument around that. Let's be clear, I'm the underdog here. I don't have long history. I don't know other people in orgs. And so I already came in kind of knowing that. And I say that to say that when you're an unknown, you do have to position yourself a little bit differently. If you come across too strong in the beginning, you're an automatic target just because you're unknown and you don't have those relationships with people. And so building on what I learned from the first time I played, I took that very, very seriously in every single conversation that I had. I would say that my game was both covert and social. I made a lot of decisions through influence. I never intentionally wanted to look like I was driving a lot of the votes that I was heavily involved in. I was really good at spreading rumors, but never appearing to be the actual source of some of those rumors. But really, the theme of my game was to survive, period. How can I survive? Vote by vote. And I made sure of that to the point where my name only came up and actually ended up on the parchment once, maybe twice. And even then it was in the minority. But there were several people that I voted against multiple times who never addressed me on it. I don't even know for sure if they knew that I was voting for them. So I'll just go down the list. Some of the votes that I was involved in. First of all, with John. And the vote with John was actually an effort with Tony. We intentionally threw the challenge. It was called the nuclear transfer challenge to get John out. That was intentional because he was strong. We knew he was strong, but he was also kind of playing a somewhat laid back game. And even though he and I started on the same tribe, we didn't build genuine connection. And for everybody out there that I worked with, everything was 100% genuine. That's how I build. It has to be authentic. And so that was kind of how I continued to play the game. Not to say I wouldn't have been shadier, I should say, if I had to be, but it was very intentional that when the vote's over, no one is mad at me. I'm never a target. The Slater vote was based on intel from Tony. She shared with me that she heard that if Slater goes to the end, he takes everything. And so from that point on, I really wanted to get Slater out before we got too much further in the game, when I thought that he may not have an advantage or reward or anything like that. Also, for James, the only thing I really feel bad about that vote is that Caitlin wasn't involved and didn't know what the vote would be, but I found out that they were closer than I thought they were. And so James had to go. In terms of Tony, I was prepared to vote Tony, and I floated her name several times, and I don't think Tony ever found out about that. When I saw Tony throw a spreadsheet in the chat, I was like, no, she's way too smart. She's ahead of us. But the challenge was we kept getting closer, and making a real connection. And so even though I was kind of trying to find a way to pull votes against Tony, because of all the swaps and everything like that, it ended up, when we got down to, I don't remember the name of the final tribe that we were on, but Tony and I think at that point kind of would have gone for each other, and she decided to out herself. The Cassie vote, I definitely pushed a lot for Cassie to go when she and I were on a chat, and she's like, I might pull you in. I have some groups, I have some things. I knew what that felt like. Why tell me you have secret alliances if you're not going to pull me in? And so after that, I started immediately gunning for her. Sorry, Cassie, and trying to rally votes to make sure that we could blindside her and she would have absolutely no idea. Tyler, I thought about switching to work with Tyler, really liked Tyler a lot, but had no confidence of protection if I were to work with Tyler moving forward. And so I was a part of that vote as well. Although a lot of the votes, as you all saw, we did kind of make in unison, but I was always on the right side of the vote. I don't know how much time I have. Let me speed up a little bit here. So I realized that Seb must have allies because he was barely present, but he was always saved. That's what it looked like to me. And between him and Colin with the immunities, they might have gone a little sooner. But I will say both of them have dirty hands, much dirtier hands than I do. I know both of them have enemies on the jury. My hands are clean for the most part. Most of the people I voted off had no idea how involved I was. I do want to make it clear that at no point was I used or dragged through the game. No, maybe one time here or there, but most of the votes, I already knew how it was going to go. And then after the Dylan vote, I was on an island, right? I was left with Colin, Brendan, Caitlin, and Seb. That I would say is probably one of the only votes that I was left out of. But Dylan, of course, got voted out because of the advantages that other people had. Hi, Dylan. And then with the fire making, I want to explain this before my time runs out. So I was concerned that the vote would be me after Caitlin was gone. At the end of the day, my plan was how can I survive? And so I convinced the guys to go for Colin. But as we kept talking, I realized that they were going to take credit for that vote and I would have no move that I really substantially had done. And so I blindsided Brendan, forcing him to make fire if he wanted to be in the final three. I know I took a risk being here with Colin and Seb for sure.
All
Um,
right, time to wrap it up.
that's it. No,
You
I'm
can
done.
keep if you have you can finish a sentence or two. I don't want to cut you off, but
I'm going to save the last little bit for my closing remarks, but I just want to say I know I took a risk being here with these two. That's just how confident that I am in the game that I've played and in the knowledge that the jury has and the conversations that we had.
okay. Thank you, Ayana. All right, with that, I think we're going to Seb next.
Hello, everybody. I'm gonna try to make sense and all of that. Like I am shaking and I'm nervous and I'm screaming and shitting and puking and throwing up and all that stuff. So, I have little notes as well so I don't get lost. Don't drag me through the mud for that. But I'm not gonna waste too much of my time with whatever those are called. So I started the beginning of the game with the main alliance with me, Tyler, Tony, Cass, and Mike. So pretty much early merge till we swapped. I never really was concerned about going home. I already had people with me. I had a call with mostly all of them. I felt really good with them. Me and Tony also felt like Emily was just a good number. Like I had not talked to Cass yet, so I was feeling Emily more at the time before I got to call Cass. So me and Tony also had a side alliance with Emily as well. So between those two alliances, I felt really safe. Once we swapped, I immediately went to work trying to, sorry, throw Slater and John as far into the mud as I possibly could and pull Dylan and Caitlin to flip over with me, Tony, and Cass, who were clearly like on the bottom. We successfully did that with Slater once then I knew it was locked. So for that on, like for the pre-merge, I was pretty much set. Once we got to merge, like a little before the first vote, I created an alliance called the Breaking Bad Boys Club, and that was me, Colin, Dylan, and Tyler. Now, these were four very big names in the game, people I wanted to run with, people who I knew had some brains in their heads. Not that nobody else does, but I knew that they were going to play hard, and I knew that I could play hard with them, and that people would also be gunning for them. At this first vote was a really pivotal point in my game. That's when James went home, and really just Colin called me one day. He said, "Look, like I thought it was going to be Dan." Colin said, "James made this list of people that he wants gone that are inactive. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's not looking good for him at all. And I called Caitlin and we talked about it too. We were like, this is not what we want to do, but like maybe it's just time. And once I saw Cass jump really on board in our alliance call, because we had another little alliance thing going on with like 4 or 5 people, I can't remember exactly who. But she turned on him so quickly that I felt like there was nothing I could do to change it at that point. And once that happened, I felt horrible. Like a lot of people in this game can say, like out of all the votes I've done in this game, James is the one that I regretted the most. When he said that he literally would have had my back, I believe that, and I can't really justify that, and I don't really know if I could have saved it or why exactly. Like I still didn't give a heads up for any of that, but I think in one way that's the biggest regret in this game. But that's also at the point where I decided to just completely throw emotions, friend vibe, any of that stuff out the window and just play like an emotionless strategic game, which is something I have never done before. A little bit later, I expanded on that alliance, made another chat with the same guys, and added Caitlyn. I truthfully feel like we ran the first half of the purge. Um, and then once people started turning on each other, one by one, I helped take them out. I'm not gonna say I'm not the only person who voted out like Caitlyn or Dylan or Tyler. However, like the safety I could have offered Tyler or like I could have went with Caitlyn and Ayana. Like I feel like a lot of times when I decided somebody should finally go is like when they ended up going. I don't know how much influence that had in it, but I felt like I was a key part in a lot of the people. And it's like the alliance I built that I ran the first part of the merge with, the second someone turned on me, which thanks to Colin, I knew that Dylan was pretty much trying to vote me out on the or at least was entertaining the idea, thoughts of voting me out on the split tribal. I knew that I just had to get into action and really just start playing like really, really hard. And one by one, they left the game. I got Colin to extend my idol so I could idol out Dylan, who I feel like was my biggest rival in this game. I made the NDA chat, which was me, Dylan, or no, I'm sorry, me, Colin, and Brendan, which ultimately shifted Caitlin, Dylan, and Ayana's plan to go to Final Three together. And if we hadn't done that, I feel like we all would have been toast. Um, I knew of every single plan executed in this game except Ayana's last minute fire making debacle. Um, I voted correctly every single time except for like the one time I split off, which was planned. After Final Six, I caught 7 votes and still outlasted my entire alliance. I earned my way into the Final Four by winning immunity, which I don't think I would be here if I did that either. I feel like I have the most successful advantage play of the season with my idol. And I spent a lot of games on the opposite side, like begging people to respect me and vote me for my loyalty. And I've lost to the villain who just voted out, who was objectively the next biggest threat. And now I'm on the other side begging you guys to just respect like how high level you guys played and the fact that I just decided to go one by one and go just on strategy. Like I know that I feel like I had a lot to prove to a lot of you when it came to loyalty and just friendship. And there was so much of that, I just had to get rid of it. And this is also the first time in a while I haven't written down like a whole thing. I'm kind of just going off the dome. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that. But I hope you guys ask questions and I hope you really like give me the chance to explain why I voted everyone out when I did. I have notes on all of that and it was all for a reason. So I guess I won't waste any more of your time, but oh my God, thank you. And now I'm gonna start breathing again. Colin, go ahead. Whew.
Okay. Thank you, Seth. Colin, you're up.
Alrighty. First off, I want to extend a huge gratitude to not only the host, but the rest of the players throughout this game, whether from Anthony with the first boot all the way to Brendan with the last juror. You guys made this a tough but rewarding game, and one I can confidently say I've enjoyed every minute of playing. First thing I want to start with is the pre-merge. The pre-merge is usually overlooked, but the pre-merge allowed me to build crucial relationships that would help carry me throughout this game. Whether it was the 1.0 tribe with making connections with Dylan and James and Caitlin and Ayana, or the 2.0 tribe where I ran into people like Mike and Tyler and Brendan and Dom that allowed me to make it further in this game. Ultimately, on the 3.0 tribe, we solidified a solid five with me, Tyler, Dylan, Brendan, and Dom that would help play crucial roles for me, not only in the start of the merge, but also in the end of the merge. The one vote that I want to highlight within the pre-merge was the Peter vote. Ultimately, it was me and Peter on a 7-2 tribe split with Salamanca 2.0, and my goal was to make it seem like it was Salamanca versus DEA as long as I could. And we had an easy vote with Hero Leanne, our host Leanne, leaving. But ultimately, I decided that'd be better for Peter to leave the game so we could still have the Salamanca and DEA split and allow me to be the bridge between both tribes. The next crucial vote came at Final 13 with James. Ultimately, I've heard many different things about this with lists going around, but ultimately we settled on that James was trying to target Dylan, and I wanted to support Dylan with that vote because I wanted to further strengthen and solidify my relationship with Dylan. Once we got to the final 12 is where I started to put my foot on the gas with driving the Cassie vote. I knew that Cassie had made enemies with people by being someone who was so social that everyone loved her. And it's like, hey, everyone loves Cassie. So people like Dylan and Tyler and Caitlin were willing to go for it, but they didn't want to be the driving factor. And that's when I decided that'd be best for me to try to take a shot at Cassie, who was well beloved by everybody, but also would choose other people over me in the end. The next vote that I want to highlight is where my game really started to ramp up at Final 8 with Tyler winning immunity. And ultimately, me and Dylan had talks about Tyler leaving the game at 8 if we had the shot. Tyler winning immunity obviously sent all those plans down the drain. But I still wanted to take a shot at Tyler in some way. Having two idols at that point that could carry him all the way to 5 was something that was dangerous and something that I feel like could be a hindrance to my game. By doing that, I had talks with Tyler after the immunity results, and he pitched the idea of Ayana leaving to me and flipping the original Brendan vote. However, to do that, we'd have to leave Caitlyn out of the vote. That gave me the ammunition I needed to go to Caitlyn and people like Seb and Dylan and be able to orchestrate this plan and get people on board. Ultimately, the plan was for me to bait Tyler into playing an idol and misplaying it on Seb by me playing a decoy steal a vote to steal Seb's vote. Ultimately, the plan worked. Tyler did take the bait and play the idol on Seb, and we saw Mike leave the game. Mike was someone who I feel like was a personal vote for me up to that point, just because me and Mike had connected on so many levels on personal and game. We would have hour-long calls for all the way into the night. But ultimately, I felt like Mike would always choose Tyler in the end over me, and I didn't think I could move forward with that. Going on to 7 is the point where I felt the most vulnerable in the game, just because coming off of a big move like that and coming off of touchy subjects, I knew that my name would be out there in the open. And I had to rely on the social relationships and the social capital I had put into painting Tyler as a big target. And ultimately, that worked for me with Dylan and Caitlin leading a vote to make sure Tyler would leave that night, making sure Tyler felt comfortable, and making sure there was a backup plan that Seb would leave if Tyler did play the idol, with Seb receiving 2 votes being thrown by Ayana and Brendan. At Final Six came the point where I had to decide if I wanted to play a selfish personal game or a loyal game. I've always gotten to the point where I've played the loyal game and I go out at 6, I go out at 5, I go out at 4, and I don't have the chance to sit here at FTC and tell you why I should be the winner. This game, I decided to play selfish, and ultimately I turned on my number one ally in the game, being Dylan, who I connected with on so many personal levels. But I didn't feel like I could get to the end with Dylan and sit here and confidently say that I could beat him in the end. At Final Five, I knew that my target had grown exponentially, so I knew that I needed to win a crucial immunity up at that point. I had 4 pages of notes ready to study for the season trivia because I knew in past seasons that Premier had done season trivia at Final Five. So I was ready and willing to put in the effort to win that immunity challenge, and I think that's ultimately what gave me the effort, or excuse me, the edge to beat out a huge competitor in Caitlin, who was a big threat to me at that point in the game, with her and Ayana and Dylan willing to go after me at 6. And then we get to 4 is where I hit my lowest moment in the game with the immunity results and my challenge performance. There's no reason to justify having 1 second in that challenge. I can't sit here and give an excuse. Ultimately, my hand slipped, I lost the cup, and it happens, but I wasn't willing to roll over and die. After we got the immunity results, I was told by Seb and Brendan, hey, we're still staying 3 strong, we're going to the end. After 10 minutes, I went, reassessed, went back to Brendan, and I baited him by telling me, hey, Ayana's telling me that you guys are voting me. What's going on? Brendan ultimately took the bait. Ayana never told me that, but Brendan revealed the whole plan to me like, hey, this is happening. Sorry, it's happening. At that point, I went and held Ayana on hostage on call for about 15 minutes just to make sure I had a fighting chance in this game. And ultimately, Ayana extended me a lifeline to go to fire against Brendan to allow me to get to this point. The other things that I want to highlight in this game are the touchy subject results. I received 6 labels throughout this game, whether that be the biggest hero, the biggest villain, the person perceived as running the game, the biggest liar, the one having the most advantages, as opposed to the people who sit here with me tonight and Ayana and Seb, who received 1 vote or 1 label throughout that. My game can be represented in 3 words up to this point, which is consistency, resilience, and adaptability. I've been a consistent part of this game, having my finger on the pulse of the game from the first vote with Anthony all the way to Brendan leaving with the final jury vote.
To wrap up.
Gotcha. Um, Adaptability, again, just knowing when to flip on people who were a threat to me, making it to the end, and then resilience, winning the challenges that I needed to get me to this point, and ultimately not rolling over and die. I can sit here confidently tonight and say I am a deserving winner of season 8 of Premiere, and I look forward to answering any questions you guys have and filling in any holes in the story that you need. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Great speeches, everyone. Way to kick it off strong. So the jurors have created an order for us, and the first one that we are going to bring on to talk to you guys is Cassie. Cassie, whenever you're ready.
Hey guys. Okay, so first of all, I did not realize that I honestly didn't think that my vote out was that big of a deal. And then all three of you mentioned it in your opening. So that's kind of cool to know. That's kind of flattering that my vote was that big of a deal. I thought it was small potatoes, but it's good to know that I was wrong about that. So second of all, so I actually I want you guys, I'm gonna have you guys do me a favor, okay? So I have a little like intro prepared, and then I'm gonna set you guys a task. So have your typing fingers ready, okay? So jury management is a huge part of any Survivor game. I literally wrote this out because I knew that if I did this on the fly, it would be terrible. For me, a big part of that process is getting to know the other players in order to build trust and establish relationships. So the task that I'm giving you guys, okay, is I want you each, there are 10 jurors, okay? I want each of you to message me privately, because this is how I'm keeping this fair. One thing that you've learned about at least 5 different jurors, and show me that you put in at least a little bit of effort to get to know those of us who are sitting on the jury and have to pick one of you to vote for. And I will
one-to-ones, I'm allowed in your one-to-ones.
Yes, in my one-to-ones. Yes, please. And I will be fact checking this. So this is going to go in the jury chat, but I am also trying, I want you guys, you know, if 2 of you learned the same thing about somebody, I don't want to discount that. So that's why I'm doing it this way rather than having you vocally tell me, because I'm trying to make it fair. And I just want to say that, I mean, I respect all 3 of you guys for sitting where you are. At the end of this, I really hope that you feel that the choices that you made to get here were worth it. And I hope that you each do your best to persuade us that we deserve your vote, because some of you guys have a rough road ahead tonight, and be prepared to work hard, because it's going to be hard for a couple of you. So I think I'm done. Yeah. I once I get those messages, I'm like, my part is up. And I have no hard feelings about anything, if you can't tell. Like, I honestly, when I got voted out that night, I went into tribal council thinking, man, it would be kind of great if I got blindsided tonight, because this game is stressing me out. I'm a mess. And then I got blindsided. So, you know, no hard feelings at all. But but yeah, I'm proud of you guys. I am proud of you guys, and wish you guys the best of luck. So yeah. Should I wait, or should I? Okay, I'm just waiting to see those messages, and then I'll be all done.
No, we can give them a second, just because I don't want to bring anyone else on and have them start
While
asking
they're still
questions. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly. Like so anyway, the jury chat is being very sweet. So um but but yeah, I mean, really, this has been a fun game. This has been a really fun game, and I'm really happy that I got to be on jury for this because this is fun. You guys can talk to me for a minute because I feel very awkward sitting here talking to myself.
How
Please.
are the kids?
Oh, they're insane. My son got rotten milk on him like, about 5 minutes ago. So, um, oh, thank you, Ayana. I will post that in the jury chat so everybody can see.
Good questions, Cassie. That's a good question.
I do love to talk. I talk too much. That was my problem this game.
Yeah, it really made me jog my memory. I'm not the best at that.
I understand. Uh, so, but yeah, I enjoyed getting to know all of you guys. This was fun. Whether you get my vote or not tonight, you guys are cool people. Don't, you know, don't take it personally wherever I go.
And remember, she
So,
said 5 people, not everyone.
yeah, you don't have to tell me something about everyone. I just want five
Oh, it's
people.
5. I
5.
was
I mean,
Yeah.
if you have more than 5 at this point, you can send it to me and you're good. Like, that's totally fine. I will be impressed, but I'll be impressed with 5 because
Caitlin, is
okay,
your name misspelled? Yeah, it's different on the screen. That's funny.
okay,
I'm typing my last one. Sorry.
no worries. I mean, I had 5 minutes. I don't know that this is even taking 5 minutes. So,
I'm just making sure I got all 10 at this point. Okay, that's my last one.
my little purr machine on my lap.
Okay. From afar, it was giving me like, I thought you had bows in your hair. I was like, she's really
Yeah,
giving me like Dorothy
I
looking.
Oh,
know. I know. These are like my fancy earrings. Yeah, these are my fancy earrings. I was like, we have final tribal council, and I'll be on camera for about 5 minutes tonight. So,
that would have been
you
bad.
know,
I definitely deleted all of it, but good thing we have undo.
oh,
Are all 3 of you done?
Yes.
All right. I'll let Cassie go back and fact check what she wants to. And as long as you are good, we will bring on our next person. You good?
perfect. Yeah, I haven't gotten Collins yet, but hopefully that'll come in just a second.
Oh, I sent it. Did you leave our one-on-one? You did leave
Probably
our
so Gabe.
one-on-one.
No, no,
She
it's
left
I
she,
left
she had me added into my
all.
one.
I left
I would
I
add,
left
don't worry.
everybody's. Yes, okay, yeah, he'll add me, so we're good. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Then come on, Tony. Tony will be addressing you second.
I can figure out if my okay, come on, let me no.
I'm coming.
You're good. Thank
Just trying to
you
get this
also,
video.
Tony. I know this is late for you, so thank you especially for being here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's actually kind of wild because I was afraid that I might not wake up when the alarm went, so I pre-voted. And I'm glad I attended this because the person I pre-voted for has lost my vote by the opening. So sorry, Ayana. This is to you. Girl, you had my vote like 100%. But your whole opening speech, you didn't speak once about loyalty. And if there was one person I thought you were loyal to, it was me. And you 100% just made it very clear that you were not loyal to me at all, which was wild to me because I thought we had a very genuine connection and we had something that we agreed to. Like, you definitely were like my right-hand person along with Dylan, actually. So to hear that you were apparently saying my name and trying to get me out quite a few times, or that you were floating my name or trying to float my name or plan to float my name, actually just shocked me, because I did not expect that for you. I was like 100% all about that you are my girl and you had my back, etc. So you have lost my vote, which makes me sad, because I really like, even in my confessional, I was like, my girl has my vote. There's no way I'm not voting for my girl, but you have lost it. So I'm curious for you to maybe just expand a little bit on this fact that you were trying to float my name out there. Who were you floating it to? Like, and what was the reasoning for that? Because I thought that, you weren't really very committed or chatty with other people. So you and I chatted a lot, and I'm just quite curious why you felt the need to now in your opening speech talk about gunning for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was gunning per se, but honestly, Tony, it's because you were just that great. And I'm not even trying to earn your vote back or anything like that. I respect everything you said. I'm just telling the truth. It's not that I wasn't loyal in the way that you're saying. It was like we'd be together and then we'd be apart. And I just felt like you were so strong. You knew everything. You had everything down. And I felt like there's no way I'm going to win against her. Eventually, I'm going to have to vote her out. It was not a question of likability at all. Like, I would love to fly over there and have a beer tonight. Well, I don't know what time it is, tomorrow night. It was strictly about the game. Once I saw how strong you were, I felt like there's just no way. And I was even worried that if we were linked too close together, I could catch a stray bullet because of that. Whereas I felt like Caitlin and Dylan at the time seemed to be more under the radar as well, and I could fly further with them. It was never a matter of trust. And I didn't think you were coming for me. It was straight fear. There's no way I can go anywhere with her. She's just too good. She's winning challenges. Her social game is stronger than mine. That's all it was about.
But you took Colin to the final with you, who actually is much stronger than I am or was throughout. And I'm quite curious to hear why you decided to take Colin to
Yeah.
the end with you.
Well, Colin, I didn't know how strong he was until we got closer to the end, because we weren't on the same tribe for a portion of time. And so when we got down to the finals, we wanted Colin out, and then he won immunity, like at 5 or 6. When Caitlin and I were together, we were trying to, actually with Dylan, we talked constantly. We had a whole hit list of people that we felt like would definitely beat us in the end, and we wanted to take them out. I only kept Colin at the very end, not because he talked me into it per se, but it was a combination of me realizing, oh, I don't have anything on my resume that I could fully own at all. And then I don't want to name names, but I felt a little bit of pressure and bullying that I didn't like from people who I didn't have an authentic connection with. So I felt like, why would I save them when Colin and I had a decent relationship? I knew it was a risk I could take. That could be my game right there. It was a game time decision, because up until then, I was definitely going to write Colin's name down, even after my chat with him. But when we sat there together, I just thought, you know what? Brendan, to me, I felt like I just didn't like the vibes that I was getting at all. And in good conscience, I was not going to. Like, if it had been you instead of Colin at that point, Tony, there's no way in hell that I would have voted against you by the time we got to that point in the game. So, it's not that I felt more loyal to Colin than you, Dylan, Caitlin, whomever. It was just by the time we got to the very end, I just didn't want him sitting there. I didn't feel like he'd earned the spot even less than anybody else. Or then definitely he'd earned the spot less than Colin and Seb.
I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you at all, because trust
No,
me, I've
it's
got some
okay.
bones to pick with Colin, and he'll see it in the jury chat if he joins us, because of the fact that I felt like Colin was quite disingenuous with me, because Tyler had told me that he had been pushing for me to go, and yet Collins keeps making calls with me, and we should work together. You don't need to lie in this game. I mean, obviously it's a game of deceit, but you don't actually have to purposely phone someone or schedule a call in order to lie to them, especially if you're not talking. Sorry, this is my comment to you, Colin. You don't have to purposely contact somebody in order to lie to them. You and I didn't need to chat for you to lie to me so strongly. And
Mhm.
that was why you were not getting my vote either. So yeah, I'm really up in the air now because now I'm just like, oh, do I still go for my girl Liana, who I love so much and we had such genuine, lovely conversations with, but you hear that she just really didn't really have that much loyalty to me, or do I go to Colin, who just like purposely like lied to me, don't fucking know why,
Can
or do
I
I go
make
for
a
Seb, who
sign?
everyone says didn't do much, but actually Seb, you were loyal and you were honest. And I have to give you credit for that, my boy. Thank you, Seb. Colin, sorry, what do you say?
I
Well,
was gonna say,
Seth
can I
just
make a
said that he
comment real quick?
blindsided a lot of people, so I'm sure
Yeah,
those
please.
comments are coming.
Okay, so I just want to comment on it. Tony, you have every right to feel that way. And I did have conversations about you being a possible vote, but at the same time, you were someone that was so influential in the game, I couldn't go without talking to you. I made it my mission to talk with everybody in this game and at least have a conversation to have a foundation of a relationship to possibly work with them moving forward because I didn't want to be in a situation like Ayana and Brendan, who hadn't talked at Final Six or Final Five, or like Seb and Brendan, who didn't talk before we got together with our three, or Seven and Ayana, who are so split and so far apart that they couldn't work together. And I think that's what allowed me to get to this point is because I made that effort to reach out to people and have a connection with them. Was it disingenuous? I wouldn't say it, but I see how you perceive it as that way. And I just wanted to have my options open in case there was a way for me to move forward with you. I wanted to leave those options open. But you have every right to feel that way, and I see how you perceive that.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Seb, you want to say something? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say something to you. I just want to say, like, obviously, thank you for everything that I feel like you honestly gave me a second life in this game, seriously. And like one thing even I want to add, like, something only me and Tony really knows, we had one really, really just like super like deep conversation, a really personal conversation, right around when the game started. And that's probably something I should have put in my little thing to cast. But like I said, it was just so personal that I just got to see Tony in like a new light. And once I got we had our original alliance and then we got split up from each other. And even then, like the boys were not quite fond of your presence in the game. I always said, well, she's played with Survivor, she's done this, she's done that. And I always tried to be like, well, she didn't win. And they can probably corroborate that too. Like she's not like she was like on All Stars and she won the game or whatever. I tried to keep the threat out there. And even if like that day I wanted Ayana to go that you went. I already was set with in my mind, I was set with the boys, but so which only left you and Ayana, and I wanted Ayana to go. And I just want to point out here that like my brand of loyalty is just a little different than other people. I feel like everyone on the jury knows where I stood with them pretty much all the time. Like me and Tony talked really tightly, and then when we got back together, I kind of fell off with her a little bit. I didn't talk to Ayana or Brendan until we were actually working together. The people that I really, really were working close with, like Colin, Dylan, Tyler, even James in the beginning, I called them all the time. So although I wasn't here like at the tribals physically, I couldn't always compete in the challenges because I was at work. I was here in this game. My presence was felt in this game. I influenced this game, and I feel like although I didn't go to every single person, and I had big talks with Ayana about this, I was like, Ayana, honestly, like I love you as a person, but I'm very bratty with my time, and I feel like you're the same way. So what I don't want to do is take hours out of your day and have these little chats and pretend like we're gonna work together when I know in my heart I'm already in like three other set alliances that I want to be loyal to, and I'm not gonna go far with you. So I feel like it's not fair to say that I was like disloyal or that I ignored people in the game. I just didn't want to waste people's time, and I feel like I did the same thing like Colin did per se, but I didn't have to lie as much at all because of that. I just played true with who I wanted to play with, and I got to the end. So that's my response to that.
Thanks, everybody. Look, I mean, I've got love for all of you, and I always think however you get to the end is you get to the end, you know. So congrats to all of you, but my vote really is still very much up in the air now. So good luck for the rest of it. And Ayana, if I can just give you a word of advice for anything moving forward, just try and talk a bit about loyalty because at the moment it's coming like across that you didn't have any. So just yeah, good luck.
Okay, with that, thank you, Tony. I believe that next we are going to go to James.
What's up, guys? Long time no see. Long time no see. I think it's been about 3 weeks since y'all fucked me over that night. It's pretty shitty. I felt pretty shitty that night, not gonna lie. So yeah, it is hard to get to the end. So I do want to congratulate all three of you, and I'm gonna have the same question for all three of you because I know who I'm voting for. So it's gonna be very generic. So I'm just kind of going to go over something with all three of you, and then I'm going to have the same question for all you at the end. So, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna start with Ayana. First of all, Ayana, I want to congratulate you a lot because like you probably know this by now, but like Seb and Colin have played a bunch of these games, and I've like barely seen you around. And like this cast was pretty good. So like the fact that you got to the end with like these big players that have been playing for a while, like I know people don't just put stock into old games, but like it is pretty impressive that you made it to the end not having like any sort of connection. So I do have to applaud you for that. I didn't see enough like aggression in your game compared to the other two to like really consider voting for you against Colin. So like it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have an uphill battle, but I want you to like hit points where you played aggressively because from what I saw, you played very passive and like I love talking to you, but like it was a very passive game from what I saw. You kind of let other people dictate things, and then you had a chance to win the game at the end, but you were loyal to Colin, who just pulled something out of his ass to save himself, basically, and you basically threw away any shot you had to win by saving him. So I hope you know that you really would have had a good chance if you didn't do that. So that just made no sense to me. But that's my criticism of your game. And then you can answer my question later. But just harp on the aggression the rest of the tribal council because you need to show people that you played more aggressively than you did. Colin, for you, yeah, like we started off pretty good. We talked a good bit and then we swapped away. I knew it was going to be like harder to connect with you at the merge after like you made connections on this 3.0 tribe, especially with the people that I probably would have ended up working with. But I kind of like pivoted towards my 3.0 people. But just so you know, guys, there was never a list. Somebody completely like ran with that idea. I maybe went to Cassie, who I was totally transparent with, and gave her the names of like a couple people who weren't talking much with me over that weekend. Like, and Colin, you were one of them because you weren't giving me like anything. And if you want to go back and say it was me, it was all you because like it was pretty much like very apparent from the screen recording I have that you did not give me time of day that weekend. And you told everyone else it was the other way around. So that's kind of bullshit, but I still think you played a really good game. And I hope you were just lying and saying I didn't give you the time of day and just kind of like ran with that as like an excuse to vote me out because I probably would have tried to vote you out a couple rounds later. So like you did benefit from me going when I did. Um, because you weren't giving me much that weekend, I was probably gonna try to vote you out if I was still around. So I think you did benefit from that, and you did play a really aggressive and good game and put a lot of stuff and a lot of strings. And it's hard to get to the end playing the way you did, and a lot of it was the fault of others. But like I still think that you did really rev up your game and really stand out from these other two. So like you're gonna have my vote at the end. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like you're probably gonna win this game, and you definitely have my vote. So that's all I have to say from you. You can answer my question and we can talk about the whole list debacle later on. I'm sure we'll get into that after the game. All right. And for you, Seb, I mean, I don't really have a question for you. I just wanted to let you know how shitty you fucking made me feel that night. Like, you out of all people, like, that was pathetic. All you had to do was give me a heads up, dude, and I would have like been your biggest champion in this game. Your biggest champion. All you need to do is give me a heads up. You didn't even have to vote with me. I just wanted a heads up because you owed me that decency. Uh, the round before you were like swearing on your dead and alive cats that I was like your ride or die and stuff, and then you voted me out the very next round, and that is really shitty. And then all the mafia games and shit between the last year and a half between Super Duper, where you gaslit me for no reason and told me I could never vote you out of a game, James. I could never do that. You never had to do that, but that's kind of unnecessary. And you kind of really just made me feel shitty. So I'm about to make you feel pretty shitty. So you're not going to pull out of your ass this time like you did in Super Duper both times. You don't deserve to win this game. Like, you don't play that good. Like, you get to the end a lot based on luck and just playing like a scumbag, and you did the same thing here. So you're not pulling this one out of your ass like you did both times in Super Duper. So that's all I got for you. We can talk later if you want to like settle things, but I think you did a pretty shitty thing to me in this game. All you need to do is give me a heads up, and you didn't. So yeah. I do think your speech was solid though. I will say that. Like bitterness aside, I do think your speech was solid. I just don't think you're pulling it out of your ass this time like you did the other times. So that's all I got for you. But in general, for the three of you, I just want you guys to answer this. You know, I'm a pretty big like hardcore Survivor super fan, and I just want each of you to compare your games to a losing finalist and to a winner. I want you to compare your games to either a second or third place losing finalist and to a winner. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys. I know I like to talk and ramble a little bit. I had a lot to let out since being the first juror, but congratulations to all three of you. And Colin, you definitely got my vote. Good game, buddy.
Does anybody want to start?
Oh yeah,
I'll start.
whoever wants to go first can go.
First off, thank you, James. It does mean a lot, and please let's talk about the list after the season, because I'm still confused about a lot of that. But as far as comparing myself, with the game, the runner-up I'm gonna go with is Wu from whenever Tony won his first season, just because I feel like Wu did rely on a lot of physical challenges or winning challenges, excuse me, not physical challenges, but winning challenges to get him to the end. And I had to have these immunity wins to help me get to the point where I was. I tied with Brendan for winning 3 immunity challenges. And then ultimately, I had to win the fire making to help me get to the point where I am. I earned my way to the spot. I feel like with the help of other people, whether that be pushing the right social buttons or flat out just being in the right place at the right time. Besides that, comparing it to a winner, Tony from his OG season, again, going with that also, just because I feel like my game was very apparent and very upfront with people. As we recapped with the touchy subjects, I received 6 labels, so my game was very much on the forefront. I wasn't sitting on the sideline letting shit happen. I feel like I was the one making shit happen this game, and I feel like that's why I am got to the point where I am and why I feel like I'm a deserving winner.
I'll go next. So the last time and only time I've ever played this game, I was on a losing tribe that never got a swap, and we joined the merge with no numbers and just got picked off. Um, exactly what I think Tony was saying. People would call me, they want to take up all my time chatting, even when I was on vacation, but not involve me in anything that was actually going on. And so I wouldn't say that I learned maybe as much as I could have from this game, from that game. I was fairly loyal throughout this game. Except for the part that I mentioned about Tony, it never went anywhere. I wasn't even more involved in your last vote, because you chose to leave on your own. But in general, I was loyal to everyone else that I was with. I never told any lies. I never told anybody I'm going to do something and then I did something else. As far as I can remember, for me, I want to go to Fiji for real. I signed up for this not just to do some online game, but to really see who am I, what kind of player, would I be. And I think that coming into these orgs, it's really hard to play an aggressive game when you're new. It's really hard. I relied heavily on a social game, making sure I always had a number one, no matter what tribe I was on, and I wanted to do that to keep me off of the threat list. There were a lot of threats in this game. There were a lot of really strong players. And I feel that if I played more aggressively or I was obviously driving votes, especially coming against these guys, I wouldn't even be here in the final three right now. And so, if that has cost me the game or whatever, then I'm okay with that. But I knew what I had to do to just make it to the end, just to even to be able to sit here. And if I came off any stronger, I already have a very strong personality that I didn't even really show during this game. There's no way I would have made it. But because I did not look like as much of a threat, even though people knew I was smart and social or whatever, that's why I was able to survive.
All right. Well, James, I think clearly you spent the last 3 weeks racking your brain of ways inside and outside of any way to drag me through the mud in any way you can here. So if you think I'm going to dignify that useless question with a response, you're batshit fucking crazy. And that's really all I have to say to you right now. Next!
Okay. All right. So next in line was going to be Dan, but he actually just messaged us and says he's been watching. He has no comments or questions, but he just wants to say good luck. He appreciates all three of you and will be casting his vote. So with that, we are going to bring on Dom.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me, everyone? Hello? I guess that's a yes. Cool. First of all, congratulations. Making it to the end is a super cool thing, super impressive thing. And yeah, awesome. I feel like I'm one of the most open jurors on this jury, who's honestly my vote is still open. I haven't decided yet, and I think one of the most difficult parts of like being a final juror is like knowing what each juror wants in terms of like answers and like point of view and all of that stuff. So I'm gonna make this as simple as I can and give you my point of view as honest as I can. So I came into this game just having played a game for like 40 days on and off, basically big fatigue on my part, and that's might be the reason I might not have as many conversations as you guys in the game. And I only wanted to focus on three things this game. Pick some people that I wanted to work with that seemed loyal to me and just run with that group until I'm gone, which did happen. Do my best in the on the map, the twist, which I did. I ran New Mexico. Basically, I would have gotten those advantages, but it's unfortunate. Seb, you did get the reward for my labor, so congrats. And yeah, just do my best in the challenges, which honestly I sucked at. So look, going into this tribal council, Seb, we don't really haven't talked with much. We did start on the same tribal, and we were like, because we knew each other. Hey, no worries, we're good, right? And I feel like that continued on, and it never developed into anything else, and that's kind of what that is. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say my arc with you in the game is I knew very early on, Dylan told me that you were the one that had the tokens in New Mexico. So honestly, like once I knew that, like we really didn't talk much in the beginning. I was like secretly gunning to get rid of you so I could try to get that advantage. Obviously I wasn't there to actually execute that, but I do feel like I had talked about it so much with the boys that they were kind of on board with pushing me towards that goal. And if it makes you feel any better, I had to fucking bust my ass to cap out the rest of it. So I did actually get like 8 coins on that bitch before I could actually claim anything.
Okay, well, that makes me somewhat feel better. Ayana, I know we haven't had any conversation, and obviously that is part of my blame as well. So I'm not going to hold that against you. So I'm going to give you as fair of a chance as I can. I do agree with James. It is impressive that you are here with, especially with Seb and Colin having so many connections throughout the community and being known players that you were able to make it to the end not knowing anybody. So big ups from you. And then Colin, um, I am very confused on why you gave like the a vengeance thing or whatever that comment about me at final what was it 5 when Caitlin left. Um, I want you to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, totally. At that point, it was honestly just self-preservation and making sure that
No. And in terms of like why you shouted me out or like say, oh, this is for Dom or whatever.
no, yeah, that's what. So in that moment, it was self-preservation to make sure that Brendan ultimately didn't flip back with Caitlin. Brendan had been very vocal that he felt blindsided and betrayed by Tyler, making that move and flipping on the DEA 3.0. You were someone I wanted to work with, ultimately, but I just felt like in that moment, pushing the right social button could help just secure that vote that we needed to make sure we got to the next round.
So you said you wanted to work with me.
I did
I'm
want to.
confused. Did
Sorry,
you
go.
know I was gonna go when before?
I
Like,
had a good idea you were leaving. Yes. You were someone I did want to work with. It was a situational thing where if you were still there, it would have been great to work with you. But in that moment, I didn't feel like we had enough social capital with each other to keep you in the game and put my neck on the line, as opposed to people like Dylan and Caitlin, who I built strong and solid bonds with.
so Tyler talked to you about voting me out before.
It
But
wasn't necessarily planned, but Tyler had said, "Hey, like if we flip on anyone from the DEA 3.0, it does have to be Dom." Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Um, then I want to, yeah, besides that, I obviously didn't have a close working relationship with any of you guys, so I really couldn't see like up close where your game was. Even with you, Colin, I was in a group that I wanted to stick with all the way to Final Five. Obviously, that was, but even then, we didn't talk much in terms of game. So I don't like basing my decision off on other people's opinions on the jury. Colin, I did see like the one move with the what was it, idling out Mike or whatever, like wasting that. I just felt like you were obviously very like baiting that. Oh yeah, you weren't gonna play it on the person you were gonna play it on, and it was less impressive on your part and more dumb on Tyler's part. No offense, Tyler. Yeah, but I don't know if that's necessarily for me enough to vote you as the winner. Maybe it is, I don't know. So I'm gonna ask you guys the same question. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from now. Why should I vote for you? I'm gonna start off with Colin. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally. I feel like as opposed to these other two, I've had to earn my way up to this point. My name was always the one that was on the chopping block, whether it be at seven with Tyler putting my name out there, or six with the OG DEA being willing to flip on me with Ayana, Caitlin, and Dylan. I was the one that was always on the forefront, making the moves and having my name and my neck be on the chopping block, and having the right social connections to get me up to this point, and having the people and rely on the people that I needed to help get me to where I am. I've had to fight my ass off to get here. I've been the one, again, reaching out to people, building some foundation of a social relationship, and then at four, ultimately culminating to a fire making challenge against Brendan, sweating my ass off, but ultimately fighting my way to get to where I am.
Those are the reasons I should vote for you.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Sebastian next. Full name.
Okay, I think you should vote for me because I did what a lot of people don't do, and that's just like play in like old school Survivor game. I feel like I just went one by one with the threats and who should go next, and if I couldn't get a certain threat at one time, I cut them at the knee with one of their allies. Like I did the same thing I did to James with everybody. It wasn't easy with Caitlyn. It wasn't easy when I called Colin and said, "Look, after all of this, I'm gonna vote you out." It wasn't easy to do that to Tyler either. I could have saved Tyler both times. I could have saved his idol, and I could have saved him from going home. I had that power. I was in on the plan and I let him go. Like I just objectively played the best game. And I feel like the people need to vote for who played the best game. And if I lose today, it's because people feel like Colin played a better game than me and I wasn't able to get him out. I feel like that's the only reason why I should lose today. And I, even at that, feel like even though my game wasn't as flashy as Colin's, I feel like I played as good, if not greater than game than Colin. And I feel like that's why you should vote me.
All right, thank you. And then lastly but not least, Ayana.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, I'm definitely the underdog. Colin didn't run all of those votes, and if I have a regret, it's that I wasn't more outspoken, so that it was more obvious that I was heavily involved in those votes and even planting seeds around some of them. So, and I didn't even know Colin was seen it as big of a threat as he was. I didn't know what he was running. Maybe he and I were having some of the same thoughts. I have no idea. So it kind of feels like he's getting the credit for some of the ideas that I had, some of the threats and things that I saw. I think I deserve to win just because I'm still here. I mean, not just that, but it did take effort. I was never carried from one vote to the next. I was involved. I was having those conversations, making sure that I was never on that side of the vote. And I do regret that we didn't get to talk more, Dom. I feel like it's really hard, especially when you have a full life, to chat with everyone. Like there were points where I thought, okay, if I play this again, I need to pick like a set group of people, and those are the only people that I chat to, because I like to jump on a quick video chat. That's a great way to make a connection, and we never got a chance to do that. Can I say I earned your vote? No, but I will beg for it if I have to. This was not easy to be here with these two at all.
I appreciate it. Again, sorry that I didn't get to know you, but from the small conversations and seeing you, you seem like a really great person. So I'm happy you're at Final
Thank
Three.
you for that.
Again, I actually liked part of everyone's answer and comments. It gave me some insight in terms of how I should vote. I'm still gonna listen to the rest of it and still deciding. I also want to thank Mr. Mark Grubella Gable for personally sending me a Kinder Egg Joy from Europe, because he told me I'm his favorite out of all the contestants and he hopes that he can rig it for me to win, but obviously he forgot and here I am. McKenna, thank you. Matt, thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Dom. All right. Up next, we have Mr. Tyler.
Hello, friends. Well, I do want to say congratulations. You all three played a well enough game to get to the end, so there's no doubt about that. You all deserve to be there. We're all bitter jurors who didn't get there. That's the bottom line. But I will say the jury does have perceptions of you guys, and you guys are seeing those play out. And I will say those aren't coming seemingly out of nowhere, right? Touchy subjects kind of put labels on things for a little while. I mean, Colin and I were, let's be honest, the two biggest threats after touchy subjects. And so at that point, when Colin took his swing, and I'm gonna go straight into my little ramble here. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my round because there's a lot of um agreement that like that was kind of the climax of the game. That's really where the game kind of turned into the final stretch. And so to me, that's where I want to see who had the biggest hand involvement. And so I'm going to kind of talk about what I saw, what I've been told, and then you guys can respond to it. And I might talk about my feelings along the way. So uh, let's get into it. So that round going into final eight, I have to give nothing like however the votes got onto Mike. That's one thing. Me going home the next round, 100% goes to Colin for getting me to flush the idol at 8. Without that, I'm playing my idol at 7, no doubt about it, because I have 2 idols. Like there's no, I've guaranteed 5. It changes the landscape of the entire game because now 7 is a gamble for me instead of a guarantee. And so for that reason, even though there was an agreement for the entire group to get me out at 7, there's no one who deserves more credit than Colin for getting me out. With that said, though, Seb had a huge role in that because he had a conversation with Dylan. His conversation with Dylan was pivotal because Seb obviously knew I was loyal to him. I played an idol on him the round before, and we had very good conversations. And you know that, Seb, and like nothing but love for you and Colin. You two were the two who betrayed me the most in this game. And Iona, you were someone who had no relationship with, which is very ironic that like that's how this final 3 turned out for me. But Seb had a very huge role in that because he was able to keep that information to himself. Like he said, he could have very easily shared that information with me. We could have very easily turned that vote on to Colin. He could have flushed my idol, gotten Colin out of the game. And in my eyes, that would have been your move, despite it being my idol and my vote involved in that. And like selfishly, I'm going to want that to be the move because I would still be in the game. And I understood my threat level, so I understood why people wanted me to go at the game. But whenever there's an agreement to get someone out, it's not good for somebody else. And we saw that play out. We saw the 3 people who I tried to vote out Colin with go out one by one by one. And you 3 happen to be sitting here, and that's super kudos to you. Iona, I know you were part of that plan. I know you threw your vote onto that. I know we talked about it and you lied to me, and it's okay. I don't care who lied to me. Everyone did. But I just don't think your hands got nearly as dirty as Seb and Colin on that round or like the Mike round in general, despite your name being the one in jeopardy. And me going for you was simply because we had no relationship in the game, and you knew that too. Just like I'm not bitter that you voted me out. And so for that, it's hard for me to give my vote to someone who didn't kind of push to the end of the game. It felt like, yeah, and you did really well socially to keep yourself insulated to where you weren't a target and had people protecting you. So I do have to give you credit for that. But it felt like you were just kind of floated along with some of these bigger players like Colin, like Seb, like Dylan. Feel free to comment. You can comment in the order that I went. So Colin, Seb, Iona.
Yeah, first off, I want to say thank you. I appreciate it. I do want to give credit where credit's due, with Caitlin and Dylan, the round that you left at 7. Like I said, that was the most vulnerable that I felt at that point in the game, just because I knew that you were pushing me from what everyone was telling me. And I had to heavily rely on my relationships with Dylan and Caitlin up to that point to get me to 6. And with you being the biggest threat in the game by helping inflate your target through the idols that you had and touchy subjects, I was ultimately able to be safe by Caitlin and Dylan pursuing you. And then ultimately, we also threw the votes on Brendan. Yeah, we threw votes on Seb through Brendan and Ayana in case an idol was played. So I do want to give them the credit that they're due with that. But I would also say that my big moves also came at 6 whenever I did turn on Dylan by giving Seb the franchise advantage that Mike gave me at that point. We ultimately was able to flip the vote on Dylan, which allowed me a clearer path to the final 3.
I just want to clarify. So I feel like a lot of your vote out kind of has to do with me and you personally. And I say this because I knew about the whole plan to flush your idol too. Like I knew he was stealing my vote. Like I knew all of that. So I could have easily just been like, Tyler, don't. Like trust me right now, don't. And I truly feel like if that's all I said was don't play that idol, I feel like you would have trusted me and kept it and we would have been good the next round. What it came down to, Tyler, is I was so loyal to you and you kept like lying to me. Like you kept leaving me out. I would be like, we're going for Ayana. And you'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then I would get everyone else to be like, no, Tyler's actually trying to vote this way. And then that's when I decided to keep that information to myself and let them flush your idol because I felt like you were distancing yourself from me. And then the next round, I had a call with you. I don't know if you remember the specific call, but I was like, I just feel like, especially like we're so tight with allies, we shouldn't have to do like the crazy, switch up right before. Like we should just know what the plan is, and it should be enough. And you're like, yeah, I agree, blah blah blah. We talked about Ayana, it was cool. But then it wasn't Ayana. You were trying to go for Colin. And I would always hear that through somebody else. And it was at that point where I felt like I can't continue to be loyal to somebody who's already kind of playing a better game than me. Like I was willing to try to like post some stuff up later on. But you were also, in a way, leaving me out and not treating me like the ally I feel like you should have. Like you were giving me half when I was giving you 100. And if you had given me 100, if you were honest all those rounds, like, and just been like, this is what I'm doing, I would have saved you your idol. And then the next round, even though people say, well, if you played the idol, I would have went home, it wouldn't have mattered. Because if I had told you and we kept that idol, we would have shook the game up anyways, and that whole plan wouldn't have happened. And one more thing I just want to comment on is I feel like Colin likes to claim that Dylan was his strongest ally, but also claims kind of like his demise. Like I feel like everybody knew how bad I wanted Dylan gone for quite some time, and I sat patiently and I waited and I finessed my idol to be extended. Like I made deals and got it extended, and I made that move happen. I put my foot down and made people who didn't want him to go, which is pretty much everybody there at the time. Now that I know that Colin was actually close with him too, everybody there wanted Dylan gone but me, and I still got rid of him. And I feel like if he was here right now, it would have been one hell of a problem. And that's my comments on that.
So Tyler, your vote was definitely the biggest blindside. It really was. And you know, I was working heavily with Dylan, and what I'm feeling now is that it seems like Dylan was feeding information from Colin because I thought he and I were making all of these moves together. Like we would have the conversation from inception, not somebody else told me this and we should do that. And so we were talking about, like I said, we had a threat list. Okay, it's Tyler. Here's the biggest threats that we think we should go after. And so I'm kind of surprised now, feeling like Colin really was, maybe more involved than I thought, although that's still not my opinion because I know the thoughts that I authored. I just don't know where they went outside of that. So it could be that maybe I wasn't talking to enough people, sharing the same thing, wasn't really sure how to be more aggressive and be more assertive. If people would say drop a name, well, I start dropping names. Now I'm a target and my game is blown. So it was very hard for me to figure out how to navigate that. And so I relied on having a one-on-one, Tony, then and Caitlin, and then Dylan towards the end. But I did, that's all I have to say. I want to share this instead because do you get this all the time? You look exactly like this dude. You are such a hottie. All right. I'm 52 years old, very old, and black.
Flattery,
and I live in
flattery
Georgia,
always works,
but
Ayana. Flattery always works.
I'm not even doing it. He is so gorgeous. And you look I hope everybody saw that. He stars on The Resident. You look exactly. I've been trying to rack my brain, like, who does he look like? And it's that guy. Super hot. I'm too old for you. Okay. But still. All right.
Do I have time to respond, McKenna, or am I being cut off?
You can respond really quick.
I'm just responding to Seb, Colin, Ayana, nothing to really respond to. Seb, I don't disagree with things that you were saying. I definitely had my hand in a lot of cookie jars, and I'm not going to hide that. Like I was really close with Colin, I was really close with Dylan, I was really close with Mike, I was really close with Brendan. I had a lot of people that I was really close with. So like, I'm not disagreeing with things that you're saying, but I don't think that anything I did in the game was ever to go after you or to put you in a bad position. I was always trying to further our position in the game, whether that be Final Four, Final Five, Final Three. I was always trying to get to that point with you. And maybe I did cut some corners in some places that I shouldn't have, and that caught up to me. But yeah.
I mean, just the only issue with that is, Tyler, if I went to the end with you and then you said like, oh yeah, I protected him and I never went for him, but I left him out here, I left him out there, he didn't know what happened here, I had my two idols, I was drugged by you at that point. And that's where it became an issue. It was like, if he's not going to communicate with me and work as an ally, then I'm now a goat. And I would have got dragged for a whole different reason here today than I am right now, which is worse in my opinion. So I love the fuck out of you, and this more flattery coming your way, but I really, really love you, and it was not a nice feeling. And I appreciate, I know Caitlin, Colin, and you have been so incredible with just how the games went, and I just appreciate you guys for your maturity in that way. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. And there's no one I'm more mad at than myself. So
All right. Thank you so much, Tyler. Great job. We will have Mike coming on to speak to you next.
Hello, everybody. So I've really calmed down. Sorry about all these and all the other stuff I did in your goodbye messages that I sent you. Actually, some people I'm not sorry about, but it's all right. After listening to Cassie and reading what she said, two people gave very basic things about me, which anyone could know about me. And one person kind of, gave a little bit of insight into me, which I was happy that I, could at least make a connection with somebody. That's one thing I pride myself on in these games is getting to know people. And it's unfortunate that of the three of you, one hardly had any interaction with at all, even though there was trying to do it, but it never happened. One was somewhat, and then one I felt was really good and who I trusted and thought was trusted back, and then got backstabbed by that person. But that's the name of the game. I'm not mad anymore about it. So that's my quick thing about that. But my question for you guys is that being a teacher, one thing I teach the kids is argument writing. So I'm going to ask you guys to give one reason why the other two, so if it's like Seb going, Seb needs to give a reason why Colin should win and a reason why Ayana should win. So try to give an argument for the other person winning, not you winning. Does that make sense? Everyone?
Yeah, I can go first if you
I
want.
don't care who goes first.
Okay, I'll go first. First I start with Ayana, and I would say out of the three of us, Ayana should win because she can sit here and claim the most loyal game. Out of the three of us, she was willing to stick to her guns and ride it out with her people. And even after I turned on her at 6 and at 5, she was willing to help give me a shot at 4 to allow me to get here. As opposed to Seb, the reason I think Seb should win is he's had to fight an underdog battle up to this point where he's already claimed he wasn't the most present with people, but he was still always protected by people. And by that, allowing him to make the moves that he needed along with the help of other people to allow him to get to this point.
I'll go next before I forget. Actually, my answer for Seb was going to be the same. Anybody who can play this game and be protected when they're not even present multiple times, there must be something going on that they have that maybe you're not aware of. And then for Colin, I mean, obviously he played a strong game. He won a lot of immunity challenges as well. And of course, the fire making. And I think that his social game is pretty solid too.
Well, I think Colin is just kind of like the dream boy of this game. Like he was always there. He's done pretty much most things that you want to check off in a list of Survivor, and I really don't have anything like I have a lot of respect for Colin's game. So I fully don't even feel like anyone has to highlight why Colin should win. I think it's said for itself, and I agree there are reasons why Colin should win very well. So, um, I I true like. This is hard for me because Anna knows this. I told her this. I truly feel like her bringing Colin was perhaps the worst move of this game. And I don't like to reward something that is so, in my eyes, anti-strategic. And maybe she didn't see that until now. And I tried to tell her who he was before we got here. And maybe now she's seeing it. I don't know. I will say that I think Ayana is incredibly smart and she is a great representative of what Survivor itself is, like at the core. And that's actually getting to know people and playing with your heart and making the moves that you need to make at the same time. And maybe she didn't do all that the most eloquently all the time, but I feel like as like a face of a winner and like the things that you want to root for and that kind of story, Ayana has that, and that's just as valid as good moves in my opinion. So I guess that's my
All right, thank you. And Ayana, I never knew it was only your second game, so congrats to you for getting this far in your second game ever, because it is not easy. And for McKenna, I'm repping for you again tonight. Go Josh Allen. Bye, everyone. Good luck.
I have Josh Allen in a fantasy league, just so everyone knows. I'm not a Bills fan, but yeah, I like Josh Allen. Anyway, thank you, Mike. Next we will bring on Dylan.
Hello, whoever put on their facts about me. They said to Cassie that I like beer. You're right. Let's go. Also, I'm gonna start saying congrats to all three of you. Obviously, it's very hard to get to the end of this game. But I do have my 2 cents, right? I'm not gonna ask generic questions. It's gonna be more specific and cater to each of you. Colin, I'm gonna start with you. Seb, I'm gonna go to you. Ayana, I'm gonna go to you, and then Colin, I'm gonna return it back with you. So let's start with you, Colin. I think this is hard. A lot of this is happening from what the conversation has already been. But in your mind, what was the most influential alliance chat in this game?
The most influential alliance chat I would have to say was no half measures between me, you, and Tyler. Just because at the core, I feel like us three were able to branch out to different groups and allow us to dictate a lot of this game, whether it be adding Seb into a four-person chat or having the DEA 3.0 or making something with Caitlyn, expanding that to Caitlyn and Seb, bringing both of them in. I feel like at the core, that three is what ran a lot of this game at the start of the merge.
I 100% agree with that. Feel free to touch more on that because I feel like that's a huge component of this game that a lot of people are missing out on right now. I
Yeah.
think that the three of us controlled a majority of the votes up until we turned on each other. And
Ultimately, sorry, go ahead.
ultimately, and speaking with Tyler, we both agreed. I mean, he thought it on his own, and then when I got to the jury, that if any one of us threw in the end, we were deserving of this win. And the fact that you're here is a huge testament to that. So I just want to make sure that this does not go understated at all. But I do have a question for you from the split tribal.
Mhm.
The one thing that kind of sums up this final three is all three of you, I'm sure you know this, we're all on the Saul tribe. We were all five on that tribe during the split. So this should resonate with all three of you. If Tony did not leave the game, who would have gone voted out that night?
My full intention was to vote Seb out that night.
Okay, so you were full on Seb.
I was full on Seb. Like we'd had that conversation. Me and Seb had a personal connection up to that point. And like I said, I had worked hard to repair that relationship with things that happened outside of the game. And me and you both agreed that I could tell him roughly a few minutes before tribal council. And obviously the whole Tony thing happened, which didn't allow for that to happen. I will say I gave Seb like a heads up, like, hey, things are happening. I don't know what's happening. I never specifically verified that you were voting him. Obviously, it's just it resonated to that. But my full intention was to vote Seb that night had things gone the right way.
Got it. And I agree with that too, right? And when I get
Mhm.
to Seb, my question is going to be that was like part one of what I'm going to be asking you, Seb. But that was my impression as well. And Seb, just so you know, part of the reason why I was a little, I was on a plane landing on the tarmac, but I also knew that Colin was going to go up to you and tell you that he was a vote. I didn't want to add more salt to the wound. But I had final game, final two promises with Tony, Colin, and Ayana at that point of the game. You were the only person by default. I wasn't targeting you, Seb. I had the lowest connection with you at that point. So cool. My other question for you at the start was why you voted me out. You already answered that, and I thought you did a really good job with that. So thanks, Colin.
Yes, sir.
All right, Seb, I'm heading to you next. You quoted earlier in your opening speech that you relied on social connections and you started playing the game with new connections at final 12. Yeah, I don't know. That means you're focused on your existing relationships. I want to hear more about that. But it seemed to me that you came at me quite hard after the split tribal. I was hearing this from Colin, I was hearing this from Tyler, I was hearing this from Tony, even before I went out. What was your take to get me out at that point? It seemed like everyone was going for you. And at that point, I felt Colin was playing a more flashy game. And I would maybe like the opportunity for us to work together. So I just want to hear your take of why it was such a threat in your mind.
Well, first of all, with the merge, I don't feel like I started a bunch of new connections. I think people should understand like how like if I were to have come into this game and said, "Oh my God, my friends, like cool," like how set I actually already was. Like I knew Brendan, I knew Dom, I knew Colin, I knew Caitlin, I knew Tyler. Like I knew like pretty much this whole fucking cast, except for the people except for like Mike and Ayana, were pretty much the only two that I had known nothing about, right? And I feel like once I hit the merge and voted out James, it changed something in my brain chemistry where I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like I don't want to sit here and just fuck over everyone else or just play a game that's based on the path of people that I've known before this. And that's when it's kind of started the domino effect and the mentality of me to be able to vote like Caitlin and Tyler and Colin, or attempt to vote Colin. Because truthfully, that's not how I play ever. I don't ever fucking play like that. And it was a new thing for me. For you, it was just more so like I really did like our alliance. I liked our floor and I liked our talks. And I took what we built when you pulled over and flipped to us. Like I put a lot of time and effort into that and like working with you, right? So I wasn't really looking at you with any kind of side eye at the time. And then when I heard Colin was basically telling me that Colin basically told me that you and Tony had like a plan since day one and were talking about it. And then you added him in the last 5 minutes or whatever. And then I called Tony and I told Tony, I said, look, like I've been in this alliance with the boys for quite some time now, and they're basically like they're making me feel like I don't have any other choice but to stay loyal to it and vote between you and Ayana. If this is not what's going on and Dylan's slipping on me, let me know. And something switched in her brain, and that's when she decided to leave, and that's that. That point forward, I just felt like I had a rivalry with you because like I knew you were going for me, but like I didn't really know if you knew that I knew you were going for me. So in my head, you remind me so much of this guy David I played this game with. Like it just the smile and the charisma and everything about it. And I did the same thing with him. And had I not jumped tribe 5 minutes before tribal, he would have got my ass the same way. And I thought that about you in the beginning of the game, and I was like, no, like I can't just like archetype this whole man because David just did some crazy shit. Shout out David if you're watching. But when that happened, it like was like PTSD, and I was like, I will not leave this game before Dylan. There is no fucking way in hell. And it makes more sense now why it was a lot harder to do until the time I finally did it. But I was dead set on that, and um it was just simply the fact of trying because I felt like me and you were good. So I didn't understand it. And I was like, okay, well, if you're, and we got on plenty of calls after that and we're like laughing right to each other's face. And I kept thinking, like, does he know that I know he literally tried to eliminate me? Like, that was the thing about our Alliance of Five is pretty much everyone on there tried to get rid of me. Like, Tyler left me out of 2 votes. Tyler tried to steal my last coin so I couldn't get my freaking idol. You tried to scheme me out of there. Caitlin wrote my name down. Like, Colin was lying to me the whole time, apparently. So, like, I just feel like I had really not a lot going for me in this game, like with not being able to work. I couldn't compete in half the immunities. All my allies apparently were in other places, and I still did what I needed to do to outlast all of those connections and make it here. And I feel like that should say something.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And just for time's sake, I do want to continue.
Yeah.
And Colin, just so you know, at Final Six, had you not won immunity, I was gunning for you too. So I have no hard feelings about that. I expected the same out of you. And with the idols, I was screwed, right? There's nothing I could have done right there. I should have
Wait,
maybe won.
can I mention one more thing really quick?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how valid this whole thing was, but the original plan when we pulled Brendan in was even if there was no idol, that as long as Colin won immunity, um, or even if you guys try to post something, like it was perfectly constructed, and I was the first one to talk about this plan where if Colin won immunity, I'll play the idol, they would vote Brendan and go to Rocks, and then everyone on our side would be safe, and it would only be you, Caitlin, and Ayana able to go home. So that was like a long plan for a long time. I don't know how deep or like people were gonna go with that in going to Rocks and stuff, but I just wanted to highlight that too, that that was like a big plan. Like your vote out was so big and pivotal and planned out and talked about and thought out that like, and then you said all that stuff when you left. You were like, I won every game I played. I've damn near never lost. No one's ever voted me. But is that the right move voting me out? We'll see. I was like, well, I feel like it was if that's true. But
No, I
yeah.
thought it was a good move. It was the right. The moment that tribal council ended, I put in my confessional, the best move Colin can make right now is is idle sad and with immunity, which is exactly what happened. Brendan told me, and he's going to go soon. If Colin didn't win that, Colin would have won. I had a final three. I was with Brendan and Ayana as well as Caitlin and Ayana, so I had that both. But we'll see. I mean, who knows, right? And I have not won every game I played, just the majority. And so actually, I'm going to flip this over to Ayana next. Okay, so I'm your biggest fan, Ayana. Your biggest fan, your biggest advocate, right? And I went to the jury and I was preaching about you. I think for the rest of this time, just in your favor, you should be a little bit more specific about your moves and how you did instead of just saying I did this move or did this. There was so much more going on, and just be specific. I do want to ask you though. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm just quick. Who were you really loyal to? Because I thought it was with me. I know Tony thought it was with her. Caitlin thought it was with her. Like, was your loyalty like specifically at the end of the day?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to be completely honest because, it feels like most of the votes are probably going to go somewhere else. And I'm going to say what everybody should say. Your loyalty should always be to yourself first, as the old lady here. That being said, I was loyal to DEA more than anything else. I was always loyal to you. I was loyal to Caitlin. My loyalty towards Caitlin started slipping when I felt like she was closer to Sebastian than she was, to us. And I started not trusting her, especially after when we played the truth game and she said that She only answered 2 right on purpose because she didn't want to reveal her game, but yet we would talk one-on-one and she didn't share any actual game strategy, votes, what direction she was going in at all. So I didn't really trust her anymore after that. And that's why I said to you, we need to have our own chat. Don't always include her because I don't know who she's talking to or what she's doing, you know? And so it was for that reason that I backed away, but I never told Caitlin that I backed away from her. And I was never in a position where I had to write her name down or even think about it, you know? And when I told you I would never write your name down, I meant that. I think I didn't know Dylan was as strong a player as he was because I didn't know about all of these other relationships and that everybody knew each other already and any of that. I probably should have more detailed notes to be able to explain some of the votes and the conversations and things that were had. But for me, the top threats outside of these, because I didn't even know for sure how top of a threat they were Tony, James, Slater, John, even at the very beginning. And those were the votes that I was involved in and the names that I suggested. I think that Mike and Dom didn't seem to be as social, as involved. I would talk to Mike, but then couldn't always get time with him. So I probably gave a sucky answer about Mike being a teacher and not necessarily knowing more than that, because several of us would try to reach out and Mike just wasn't necessarily giving a lot in return. And so my whole game was just who can I trust? And then that's the person I tell everything to. And I told Dylan absolutely every thought that came out of my brain every single day, all day. We would be on just completely deep in strategy and how to do this and how to do that and how to move that around. If I made a mistake, it was not taking that same brain and having some of those conversations with other people so that they would see that I did bring a strategic lens. I just wasn't necessarily as aggressive or as spreading as wide as I should have with what I was doing. I suggested the Cassie vote. I put that out there, said she's very chatty, and not just that, but she seems to be well connected. She knows a lot of people. She made me feel like she was secretly running things. So I was like, we have to get her out. She has to go because we don't know who she knows and what she's talking about. And I was worried our name was going to come up. I mean, the night that you went, Dylan, I could about cry. Now I did cry when Tony went. I did shed some tears on that. That was a tough night, but it was definitely hard and shocking to see you take that hit like that. And just in case Tony falls asleep, I just want to say, looking directly in the camera, I am sorry, Tony. Again, I think you are absolutely amazing. Total fear on my part. You know, you're just an absolute beast, and all of that emotion when you went was 100% real. I could get a little weepy thinking about it right now because you're amazing.
I just want to finish and thank you for that, Ayana. Real quick, because I know we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Just going to the final four vote, right? Just on preaching loyalty, and I get that. If it's OGDEA, right? And then Colin massively betrays Caitlin and I. For you then saving Colin and voting him, that takes out the loyalty that you had for us. And so I do think that had you not voted Colin and you had voted with the rest of the tribe, you would stand a really good shot of winning this game. And I don't mean that to rub this in, and I don't mean that negatively. I just can't champion you with Colin sitting next to you. I just can't do that. It's probably going to be close, if not unanimous for him. And it's just, I still think he played a great game. I think he did a remarkable job. But that's just what I have to say. I do have one last quick thing. Seb, on our last call, you said 19 people are going to feel like shit and one person's going to feel lit. Why do you get to feel lit and why do we all have to feel like shit?
I feel like I should get to feel fucking lit because this whole tribal people have been highlighting Colin's moves and coaching Ayana how to do this, and neither of them are under nearly as much fire as I am. Like, I was here in this game. You guys know I was here in this game. You know the moves I was a part of. And I just don't feel like I'm getting any credit for that, and that's okay. I feel like me and Colin have played an equally meritorious game, and it's a matter of fact if you like the poster boy or the underdog, and I think both are fully valid. I currently am feeling a little bit like shit, but I'm happy you said that because that honestly just that is what it is. 19 of us sign up to feel like absolute shit, and one person signed to win, and that doesn't take away from anybody's character outside this game or their merits outside this game, I guess, as those have been brought up. But I feel like I have earned it in a couple ways, both in immunities, in my social game, what I've dealt with here, and in my performance so far. I feel like they're all valuable of at least consideration to get a vote from all of you.
Got it. Just no final four. Colin, was able to socially get the votes and make it a tie when he was considered a strategic threat, and then went against the person who had the most immunities tied with him in a physical competition. That one vote alone merited him the entire win of the game from a social, strategic, and challenge-esque standpoint.
And
So
like you have no idea how hard I tried to tell Ayana, and she was trying to tell me that this voting out Brendan was in some sort of like revenge for Caitlyn or whatever the case was. And I can't tell you guys how much I would not like to be sitting next to Colin right here and how defeated I felt even walking here knowing I have to go against a beast like this right now. I'm trying my best. And like I said, I think I've done well. I think I deserve consideration, at least, at most. However, I get what's going on and
Let me say something to that, Seb. So I think it's just because I didn't have as much trust with you and didn't know you as well to believe
But the
what you
thing
were
with Anna,
saying. And
we're
that was
at
the
the
reason
finale.
why.
It's not about trust anymore. It's about like giving us a chance to win. So we didn't have to trust each other to understand that Colin was the best player. You told me Colin was the best player. And before travel, you told me that you didn't think he could beat you. So that's why I put you first to put your money where your mouth is here too. Because if you were that confident of going against Colin, you knew things that I didn't, and you played such a strong game, then I feel like you needed to stand on it. But like throughout all of this, I feel like you destroyed me, you, and Brendan's game in that one move. And all I can do to the jury is advocate how much I tried to go against it. That's why I won immunity. Y'all didn't see me like put all the time aside and do what I did to win an immunity that whole season. I did it that last time because I needed him to go, and it was the last chance I could do it. And it didn't happen for me. And that's because of Ayana. And I think that's because Colin, I don't think Colin necessarily said things to Ayana that persuaded her. I just think it was some naiveness, which I said directly to Ayana at the time too. And I love Ayana. I'm not trying to bash Ayana at all. She's not an idiot by any means or any of that. I think there's a lot of naivety in the situation, and it's unfortunate for the final people in this game. I think for real.
I just want to comment on it real quick also. The conversation I had with Ayana, she specifically told me, hey, you are being persuasive, but I am doing this for revenge for Caitlyn. That's the same message I got. It's more so me capitalizing on the social moments that I had and pushing the right social buttons that I needed to allow that move to happen. Whether that's going to her and being like, hey, Brendan and Seb are controlling this vote. Let's not let them control this vote. I don't want to give them control. And that's what allowed for the move to happen.
And I think I'm a good segue because we're gonna have the last two jurors come in here, and they were more responsible for getting that part to that part of the game than I was. So a lot more coming in. Congrats to the three of you. May the best person win. And I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know all of you. I besides James, I didn't know anyone in this game, and I played just to make friends. So it was great meeting you all and having a great time. Thanks.
Bye, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
Love you.
All right. Next, we will welcome Caitlin.
Hi guys. I'm very excited to see you all here because obviously each of you were people that I have a lot of love for, that I really, really appreciated the relationship we had in this game. I really, really appreciated getting to know Colin and Ayana on the level that I did. Um, um, Sorry, Ayana, I just want to like make sure you're here with me because I'm trying to like have a good moment with you because I loved you and I am so proud of you for getting to this point. Um, I do want to start by touching on I guess Ayana, I do want to straight up ask you what happened the night that I was going. I know that you were maybe feeling a little defeated. You were absent for the challenge and the tribal, and the part that I do understand is where you want to put the game aside sometimes to focus on real life, and that I understand because I have been there too. I've been in the same boat where I'm like, I have got to show my relationship some love because that is the number one thing in my life right now. But I will just say it sucked to see you at that point seem like you were giving up. And I didn't really know what was going to happen from there with you. And then it also just sucked to not have basically the one person I thought I had left in this game that was on my side be there as I was going out. So I just kind of want to ask what happened there, and if your heart got back in it and you are fully back in it now, or what?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I did not did not participate in the vote against you. Um, and I just had a house full of company, and I think after Dylan left, and that's the thing, I'm not a super emotional person, but that really just like crushed me. Where do I even go from here after he was voted out? And then that's why I didn't do the challenge. I think I did kind of get a little defeated in that moment and had to like rally after you were gone and say, okay, I'm still in this. What can I do? Where do I go from here? Because I just felt, I mean, even though, I did get a little cooler with Colin, I didn't know him very well before that, with all of the swaps and everything. And so I really apologize to you, because I think that the other thing for me is that I compartmentalize and disassociate during certain parts of the game to focus more on, can I be a villain? But you're not always thinking there are real people here, there are real feelings. And so, that I would also chalk up to me just being naive and not looking at it. I expected to see my name written down like multiple votes, as we were going along. And so I didn't have any emotion in me that would have been sad about it from that perspective. But I should have been there for you. And then obviously once it happens, you can't go back and check on people or anything like that. But it definitely is no love lost or anything. I had a house full of people over. I couldn't even jump on even for a second. It was debate night. And so that's the only reason why I wasn't there. And I didn't win a single not only did I not win a challenge, y'all, I think the only one I came close to was to say my name, where I was missing like two words. I just kind of suck at it. So I have to do the more of the social, because it's just not my strength. But I apologize for letting you down.
Okay, I appreciate that. I hope you understand that as somebody who was like, I was here fighting for both of us at that point. It wasn't even just me. I was not even going to Colin and Seb or Brendan and trying to sell you out until the point where I was like, she doesn't want to be here. You know what I mean? That was the point where I was like, please keep me if Ayana doesn't even want to be here. And I was trying to guilt trip the others quite a bit about that, and that was just strategy. I don't have any bitterness towards anyone. So what was the other thing I wanted to touch on? Okay, so that kind of leads me into like your absence in that moment of the game kind of leads me to Seb's absence with other parts of the game. It's kind of the same deal, Seb has work, and like work comes above everything else. But Seb, I kind of just want to know where you felt like you made up for your absence. Where in the game do you think you made up for that?
Well, I want to start by saying I feel like I have a lot of trouble explaining this like concept to people, but like
Okay.
as I said in my speech, from Final Six on, I caught 7 votes, right? And I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
People know about me. Not that I'm like some big shot league, but I played some good, nicer orgs, and I have a few wins, right? And people talk about that, and um, I feel like I have to walk this subtle balance of like threat level. And although it's very true that I do have to work all the time, yes, that's true. But also I feel like when I don't talk to certain people, or when the jury's mad at me, like I leverage that. Like I embezzle it even higher. Like I think I've said to a couple people at one point that the jury was roasting my name over a fire, like a marshmallow or something like that, right? And hounding that, I know when people start thinking, should I go for Seb or should I sit with Seb? There's that idea. It's like, well, he's not really been around. Like, why should I go for Seb if he's not really been around? Or why should I worry about getting him out if he's not getting around? Why should I not sit next to Seb if he wasn't around? But like, I was around. Like, that is the thing. Is behind all of that, I have been around. I was in the alliances, even if they were sub alliances. I was part of those alliances. I knew every single plan that was executed in this game. Never once did I vote wrong, and it's not because that's not luck. Like I didn't just spin a wheel or have an intuition and feel like, oh, the vote's gonna go this way. No, I was talking to the people that I needed to talk to. They had their people that they were stringing along, and I just used them as the medium between that. Like I just didn't feel like I had to spend extra time talking to people who were as like touchy subjects would put it, the right hand to others. I stayed with the big bosses. I played with the big bosses. And when the big bosses turned on me, I turned on them. Like, so I feel like like I get I wasn't here topically, but since like the way I try to leverage it and the things I did behind the curtains, I don't feel as though I have too much to make up. The biggest thing I regret about not being here is like not really getting to know Mike, not really getting to know Ayana. Like I would have loved to honestly have like a really cool alliance with Dom where we like called all the time. It just didn't work out. Like those are the connections, which as you know me better than anyone, usually I play for those connections and I play to get to know people and leave with friends. And I've lost doing that so many times that once I threw that idea out the window, that's when I stopped being as like social and in people's faces as I usually am. And I hope that makes sense. I can never explain that concept to people, but it's worked for me so many times that like I just wish people would get that like you don't need to run around like a madman to every single person, like checking your marks and plotting your bases. You don't have to always play that way. Like and that's what I try to do, and that's what I try to prove. On top of also like having to work. Like it's not all strategy. Some of it is just against it's out of my hands, but
That's fair. And what you're saying does make sense. And honestly, I wish more of us had that mindset to be able to do less and still feel confident enough in our games to get there doing it. But I do think the unfortunate position you're in is those of us who were running around like a madman are so exhausted by it and are like patting ourselves on the back for it. And like I mean it's almost like an ego thing, you know what I mean? Where like, oh, we worked hella hard. Why didn't you work as hard as everybody else? You know what I mean? So I kind of just wanted to give you a chance to like explain your feelings about that.
I mean, and I truly feel like if I had gone to everybody and I was in the, in the alliance with Mech and Ayana and I was working with Dom and I had Brennan on the side too, I don't feel like I would have been here. I feel like I would have been up topic. I would have been a Nemo topic a lot earlier, and everyone was moving so fast with their alliances that I just would have fell out of it and went home. Like I feel like that was my only way to be here, and it's a weird line to walk. But I get it as well. Like the saying is, I guess, like work smarter, not harder. But like
Yeah.
I understand how exhausted you guys are, and I don't take that away from you, and I get why that can almost make me look like a brat in some ways, and I'm really sorry if it looks that way. But
Okay. I appreciate it. Okay, so I do have a question for all of you that I would like each of you to answer. And Colin, the only reason I don't have a personal question for you is because I feel like you do have such a lead in this jury. Your game is highlighted, and I just wanted to give the other two a chance to like speak on other things as well. So the question I want each of you to answer, and it could be a fairly simple answer if you can think of it. I would like you to name a time that that maybe luck had more to do with you doing well in this game than your own strategic mind, or a time that luck really played out in your favor that got you sitting here tonight. And on the same token, I would like you to maybe list something that is perceived as luck, like you got lucky to be here, but is actually something you had more of a hand in. We could start with Colin since I haven't talked to you yet.
Yeah, totally. First off, hi Caitlin. Hi John also. I know he's watching, hopefully. But so the first thing I would say that provided me with luck in this game, luck is always going to be a factor in making it to the end. But for me, it was really getting on to DEA 3.0 with me, Tyler, Dylan, Brendan, and Dom. We were able to solidify a solid five there. And that's also where me, Tyler, and Dylan were able to make the three-person chat with the no half measures that I feel like had a huge influence throughout this game. And then obviously that helped carry me deep into the merge. Where I would say is luck wasn't as involved was whenever I was talking with Ayana, trying to get her to even give me a chance to be here. You can say it's luck, like, hey, actually, let's give you a shot. But I feel like I was able to press the right social buttons in that moment to allow me to be here. Whether it's like, hey, Seb and Brendan are controlling this vote, let's not let them control it. The way I approached the conversation first was, hey, they're telling me that we're voting you, but I've heard they're telling you that they're voting me, and I don't want it to be either of us. Ayana flat out told me like, hey, if they're voting me, I don't even want the chance to go to fire. Just vote me out. And then coincidentally at that moment, Brendan texted me, hey, just want to let you know we're voting you. And I knew well ahead of time that the votes were going my way, but that's what I relayed to Ayana to further solidify like, hey, they're voting me, they're not voting you. Give me the chance to make fire. And that's ultimately what allowed me to be here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Ayana.
Um, I would say, man, I mean, even just surviving from the very beginning when John went instead of me and us throwing the challenge, I don't think that that was lucky at all. I think that that was a part of me making social moves early to get locked in with people, being, jumping on chats and really kind of trying to build through, some of the more mundane conversations you have to get to know people. I think the luck was that it was you instead of me in the vote, unfortunately, which I was shocked that I was not the vote over you, just because I knew that I was very undercover and we were getting closer. And then, seeing what was happening with players like Mike or sorry to throw anybody under the bus, or Dan, I was like one hair away from looking like an easy vote like Dan. I was just talking to more people, even though I wasn't leading on a strategy in the way obviously that other people were. But I think that the night that you went, I really thought it was going to be me the entire time, especially because I wasn't present. And that tends to be when you become the easy vote. So I feel like I got lucky. And that I feel like that's really the only reason why I'm still sitting here and not you, Caitlin, is because for whatever reason in that moment, they chose to keep me over you.
Okay, thank you, Ayana.
Okay. So I feel like I had a couple lucky moments in this game. I mean, Tony deciding to leave was very, very lucky for me. I think when I got swapped to your tribe, the fact that John and Slater were the ones that were part of your numbers was really lucky for me. I feel like had other people from your original tribe been there, it wouldn't have been the same story, or conclusion even. I don't know if this necessarily counts, but part of the reason that we didn't go live is just like a work thing for the final challenge. But I think I guess this is for everybody though. We all got to do it at our own time, which at least allowed me to compete probably than I better could have otherwise, which is like the fairest thing. So I don't really know if that counts as luck. But things I don't think that were luck were I don't know, maybe my relationship with Brendan. I mean, me and Brendan didn't obviously like I didn't talk to him for like a lot of the game, but like I even told him this. I feel like me and Brendan bonded for like a lifetime of game over just the last couple like the week that we talked to each other. Like I just really grew fond of him, and I don't think that like him, working with me and Colin was like him as a number or anything. Like I think we actually built a bond there. And the other thing I would say was my idol. I don't feel like that was luck at all. Like I put in like I was constantly working at getting that advantage. Tyler willed me a token. I was trying to get Dom out so I could cap it off. I had to sit there and claim more tokens afterwards so I could fill it out if I could even get it. And um Colin also had the option to give it to Brendan. Brendan was asking Colin to extend his extra vote because that was an idea that they wanted to do, was pull an extra vote and make it 4-3 on you instead of just or on Dylan instead of the idol. And I just played it on my idol right away. I wanted the idol to be my move. I didn't want to give Brendan anyone else credit for that really. And Colin was the one in my confessional like begging me to keep him that one round in exchange to get that. And I feel like he could take credit for kind of like extending my idol, but I could have sent him out the door right there and just been done with it. So like it's just not as cut and dry there. But I hope that answers some things.
Yeah, it does. And something you spoke on that I also want to confirm to the jury that's watching right now. I think it was huge whatever bond you built with Brendan in that short amount of time. Um, same could go for Colin. I don't actually know what the balance was between you and Colin both pulling Brendan in, but no offense, Brendan, I have grown very fond of you and I do have a lot of respect for you, but I was really mind blown that he would choose you two over me and Ayana. So I knew that this is not to give any this is not to discredit whatever Brendan was trying to pull off, but I knew that you and Colin had put in some serious social work and had just pulled off something great. So yeah, I wanted to give credit to y'all for that. Okay, I think that's all from me. Again, congratulations. I appreciated each of you, and I touched on the new friendships that I started with Ayana and Colin, and how much I appreciated y'all's loyalty up until the point that it was. But I do also just want to say, for those who perceived that me and Seb may have come into this really tight, we really didn't. We were in a rocky place, and that's, you know, mostly between the two of us. But I went to my confessional knowing Seb was playing this, and said, oh shit, this is not good for either of us. And yeah, I just don't want it to be perceived that Seb just had me as a number all along, that was just a definite thing. It took work to get to the point we're at, and I'm proud of you, Seb, and I'm appreciative for the point we're at.
And I just want to say that no matter how many friends I lost this game, it is so fucking worth it that me and you are good again. So thank you. I love you.
I love you too. I love all y'all. Good luck.
Thank you, Caitlin. And with that, we will come to our final juror, our fire making, or should I say dots and boxes loser, Brendan.
Hey, look at us. The final four have reunited again. Congratulations to all of you, making it to final three. Obviously, that is still very good. So just to address like the final six and final five votes, yes, I did, go in with Seb and Colin, partly from them, putting in the effort to pull me in. But realistically, at that point, thinking of final three, I wanted Seb and Ayana both there because I feel like all of us did the weakest games. So, Colin, kudos to you winning final six and final five immunities because you definitely most likely would have been the one leaving in both of those circumstances if you had not. All right, so question time. Let's see. I'm gonna start with Seb, although I feel like my question has kind of already worked its way out of you. I was gonna touch on how you said you knew me previously, even though from like a random group chat I'd never even participated in. And then you didn't say anything to me, even though we started on the first tribe together until like final seven. Did you just feel like so comfortable with other people as to why you didn't need to make any kind of real connection, or how did I know you kind of already touched base on that? I was just
Well, I think the biggest thing with the people I didn't talk to in the beginning is there was always something like really, really early on that just kind of made me feel like it wasn't going anywhere. Like the way in the beginning, Brendan, I felt like our conversation was so dry. It was like pulling teeth. It was like one words. It didn't feel like there was much interest. Then I heard you had like an alliance with, I think it was Cass and Emily or something like that. So I was like, okay, he picked his people all the way back on day one. So like that's cool. Like with Mike, for example, like Mike got on one call with me and he told me that he's like always really underestimated. He likes to work in the shadows and it's like a big mistake to look past somebody like him. That scared the fuck out of me. So once we got swapped away and came back to each other, I was like, I don't think I can do anything here. Like there was always like kind of a reason. Um, I felt like I don't want to say I felt comfortable. In some ways I did. Like, I had a lot of alliances in other places. And like when I said I knew you too, like yes, obviously there's the chat, which you have played a couple of games with us. But it was also like through Taryn. Like I've met Taryn. I know Taryn. I've hosted your family Christmas mini on my page. Like I know Grams like that. I think someone from your family just added me on Facebook actually. Like I feel like I'm part of your family now.
I believe it.
So like from that, I kind of felt like we were already gonna be good. Like seeing you, I was like, okay, like Taryn's brother, like we're good there. We met here, like we know of each other, and it didn't work out like that. But I felt like obviously our first call in some ways was out of necessity. And we both kind of know that. Like at that time, we realized what was going on, and we're like, holy shit. But I also just feel like it flowed so genuinely, and there was never a time where I felt like I was like putting in work when I was talking to you. Like everything just made sense, and I was your biggest, fan pretty much throughout the rest of the end game, and I'm still a big fan of you. I always will be now. That's never gonna go away. But I don't know if that answers your question, but it's not like I felt comfortable. It was more so like I was trying to balance like this strategic game while also kind of trying to stay loyal. But then everyone that I was staying loyal with was writing my name down and doing other things. And that's when I realized like I need to start like I've iced out all these other people. What the fuck am I doing? And that's kind of like when we got our call. And I told Ayana the same thing. I sent her a fat message. I was like, Ayana, I want you to know. And this was after you both wrote me because I figured I was on my way out the door at that point. I was like, probably gonna leave this game. And I wanted you both to know that I didn't come to this game like, ugh, like I just don't want to talk to them. Like it's not worth my time talking to them. I'm good. Like I love both of you. I love the energy you guys carry and the way you live your lives. And it had nothing to do with personal things. It was just balancing time, the alliances I was in. And like I said, I try not to run around to everybody and check bases. That's just not my game. And people get dragged for that. So I was trying to avoid that really.
All right. Moving on to Colin. I feel like there's really not even much to question you on. Like I said, last juror to go on the questioning, I feel like most things have already kind of been discussed and whatnot. Um, what school of wizardry did you go to have such a silver tongue to be able to convince someone to keep you at Final Four when it was so obviously that you're the biggest threat?
Um, Look, like I said, I think it was just me knowing what social buttons to push in that moment. Um, I mean, again, I love Ayana, but Ayana is someone that wears her heart and her emotions on her sleeve, and just knowing what buttons to press, I think helped in that moment. Ayana is also a very independent woman and will want to make decisions on her own, and that's something I wanted to support in that moment. Like, hey, Ayana, this is your move, and just giving her whatever comfort she needed to allow that move to happen. And I mean, just going back to it, like I'm not that type of person like in social life. I'm not the person to go up to someone and start a conversation about like, hey, we should do this and do that. Like I am very much introverted in my real life, but these games have become an outlet for me and allow me to express myself in different ways with people who I'd probably never interact with. And it's allowed for moments like that and just constantly learning and learning how to adapt to different people.
All right. So obviously, I feel like I have the most to say to you, Ayana, but I still have a little bit of bitterness, but I was just voted out, or not voted out, but you know the whole deal on that. Um, I just I feel like there was a lot of inconsistencies in what you said about that. Like one thing was the whole you told me afterwards that Colin's been very loyal to you the whole game, whereas he still, participated in the 6 vote for Dylan, the 5 vote for Caitlin. So it's not like that was me alone. And even before that, you were also saying that you didn't realize that Colin was such a big threat, is what you said earlier. But again, on Final Four, we all discussed how Colin has played an amazing game. And you even brought it up to me as well that if he goes to fire making, it's just going to be another thing on his resume. So can you just make it make sense to me I mean, I get the revenge for Caitlin still, but I would like to hear some more on that.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything I can say at this point to make it make sense. I'm going to have to chalk it up to my learning, but I will say that the votes that he participated in that went against the people that I was with, I didn't know as much about it as I did when it was me, you, and Caitlin. And I'm thinking we're together. And then you go outside of that and you're having other conversations when I didn't even know you were playing the game that strong. I think because that felt closer to home, I didn't feel any sort of loyalty to you anymore. And that's what made it easier for me to put you into fire making and say, hey, maybe Brendan will win and then he'll have something on his resume. In that moment, I don't think I was thinking as strongly about my own game. I don't think I was paying as much attention to what I would have to prove to the jury. You know what I'm saying at this point? And I think that that's why I was so disheartened after the Caitlin vote, is because I thought we had an agreement you were going to go with us. And then she's like, no, I think he's going to go with the guys. And so it just was much more direct and in my face. And that was the memory that I stuck with. So I think Colin said it when he said, I probably did lean more to the emotional side than I felt like I was doing in that moment. It was just a matter of, I don't even think it was just trust. Maybe there was some mixed loyalty in there at that point. I don't know why I didn't have just like one more, blindside or whatever in me when I'd already participated in so many. So,
I tried to talk to you too about it. I said, if you have any more reservations, give me a call. And you were like, no, I'm good. But me having this be my first game, I definitely get where you're coming for with that whole learning experience thing. I'm very on board with that with you as well. Hey, you made it to the end, so
I think we did
great
to
job.
get to Final Four though with you too, Brendan. So
yep.
All
right, that is all I have. Yeah, great job, y'all.
All right. Thank you, Brendan. And with that, we will go into our closing statements. We will go in the reverse order of opening speeches. And so I believe that means Colin, you're going first. A certain host has been very bad about keeping a time limit, so let's keep these short and sweet, 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Understood. First off, again, just want to say thank you to the host and to the players in this game. You guys have made this a phenomenal game. I'm aware of my position coming into this final tribal council that I've been perceived as this big threat, and people have been stating the whole game, oh, if Colin gets to the end, Colin wins. I didn't want to waltz in here with that mantra. I didn't want to come in here with cockiness. I wanted to come in here and earn my spot, and I feel like I've done that. At this point, I can confidently say that I knew about every advantage in the game and who had them. I didn't hear about it from secondary hands. I heard it directly from the person, whether that was all the advantages that Dylan had, uh, Seb gaining an idol, Brendan having the hitman advantage, or Ayana with her challenge advantage. I was always aware of the advantages wherever they were at in the game. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I had 4 votes against me throughout the entire game, how I was perceived as a big threat. One of those votes came from Leanne early on in the game, and after that, I only had 3 votes. And that came from the fact that I was willing to bust my ass and win immunity challenges and go outside the scope of what my normal game is. My normal games before this, I haven't won an immunity challenge in probably 3 years, but the fact that I was able to win 3 individual immunities and then after that win a fire making challenge to secure my spot here, I can confidently say that I feel like I've done enough to earn your vote and represent this season as the winner of season 8 premiere. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I believe we're going to Seb next.
Oh, fuck. Well, I am going to objectively just acknowledge that a number of people just came in here and said out of their own mouths that they already have decided how they're going to vote. So I'm not going to put too much effort into this. I am very proud of Colin. I'm gonna say, Colin, I'm very proud of you. I think everyone in the Final Four kind of almost up down, but we knew that this was what it was gonna be, and I knew it wasn't gonna be a fun ride at this FTC. But I do just want to highlight once again, I think I played my ass off the best that I could with what I was able to do. I think that when there are a lot of things that Colin merits to himself, like I have just as merited stuff. Like Colin won his all of his immunities, preventing him from getting votes, but that mean I got every other votes in his name basically because I was his ally. So I had to work my way out of all of those, and like I guess it's up to you to decide whether working your way out of numbers or winning an immunity is more meritorious. That's really just subjective. The best I can say is I think that we both played amazing games, and I think that I still deserve consideration a lot more than I've gotten through this final tribal of your guys' votes. And no matter what happens, though, I'm very happy with how things have went and the people I've ended with, emotionally wise. And this is an incredible org, and I'm so happy with how deep you've went in with the theme and how much you guys pay attention to all of our calls. It is just like a very good game. So as crazy as this has been, I don't regret a bit of it. So thank you for that. Have a good night, everyone. It's all just a game. Ayana, take it away.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I can say. I did not prepare detailed notes. I did not go back through every vote, every tribal council. I can't strategize and spell it all out like Colin did. And so, I just feel that I earned my spot, period. I feel that I earned consideration. My loyalty was to DEA. I was very unaware of all of these side relationships and people that knew each other coming in. I just made sure there was always a bigger threat than me that needed to go. Um, Ultimately, though, I played this game to learn more about myself, and I have. Like I said, I want to go to Fiji for real one day, and I wanted to see what kind of player I would be. So it's given me a lot of lessons learned. I do hope that I've earned some votes just through the social capital that I've built up with several of you. Every single word that I ever said to you when we talked was absolutely genuine, and I meant it. Um, and also thanks to the production team, this was fantastic. I have had an absolute ball this entire time. Every conversation, every connection, everybody's really, really smart. The game was very well organized. Even the challenges that I hated, it was still more fun than doing a lot of I'm not going to name anything. I don't want to talk about any other the way anything else was done, but it was just well suited, well organized, and I've just absolutely enjoyed it, and I hope that we can stay in touch after this. And sorry again to Tony. I really mean that.
All right. Thank you, final three. Great job tonight, and thank you, jury. You really brought it. So now the time has come. The jury we'll give them probably between 20 to 30 minutes to submit votes. Once we have all the votes, we will let you guys know the final three. We will come back. We will let the viewers know, and then we will come back and we will be live in not too long again to reveal the winner of season 8. For the time being, congratulations to all three of you and good luck. I will end the live now.